Hello, this is Sarah.
And this is Jeremy with Caregiver Chronicles. And this week we're just going to discuss the Pixar Spark short Loop that you can find on Disney+. This is a very important short. You can find it, that you can find. It is about autism. And specifically, we've spoken about our journey with two kids on the spectrum. The one of the main characters in this short, Renee, is a nonverbal girl who's very similar to Joey in that sense. But this is a great tool. The Loop, I think, is a great tool for parents with kids on the spectrum to demonstrate,
Or anybody
to demonstrate to someone wanting to learn about autism one of the aspects of autism, because no two kids on the spectrum are alike, but this representation of a child is the closest I've seen to how Joey behaves in normal life. I mean, there's obviously some differences, but Renee is a lot like Joey. She's nonverbal. She has an intense sensitivity to sound, to where, in the short, they're on a canoe trip and she plays a sound she likes on her phone. Well, the guide, not knowing about her sensitivity to sound, has the idea to take her into a tunnel, knowing that the sound will reverberate and echo, and he thinks it'll sound great. And from where he's viewing things, it probably would sound great, but it overwhelms Renee's senses and sends her into a meltdown. Well, that is something that we've kind of noticed with Joey. When certain things get too loud, he goes into a meltdown. He's very sensitive to sound, somewhat sensitive to light, but it says, like I said, this is one of the better representations of autism we've been able to find that is similar to what our son is like.
Yes, and I would just like to interject real quick that this story actually launched, it was the first published review that my husband wrote for what's on Disney+. So, which if he didn't do that, I don't think we'd be doing this. Even though the two seem to have nothing to do with each other, I always wanted to write about our journey or share our journey, and never knew exactly how to do it. And my husband started doing the reviews for Disney+. Loop was his first review, and it was, it was the most heartfelt, I think, and probably the most important one, just not just because it was his first, but because the topic was so personal to our lives. From there, we came up with the idea almost a year later, right? So he started writing for What's on Disney Plus in February, and that was his first article, was Loop. If you get a chance, go on the What's on Disney Plus blog and look up Jeremy Brown and check out his Loop review. You can find other reviews from him. This one means the most to us because of our experiences with autism. Anytime I see a character on TV depicted with autism, they're either highly intelligent, like the Good Doctor, or
the character Abed on Community is kind of that way as well, where they're like savants.
Yeah, there's not a lot of depiction of people who are nonverbal with autism, who a lot of times people depicted on TV with autism are expressed as like savants or geniuses or just really smart and socially awkward. The depiction in this is more realistic to what our experience is like with Joey. He knows what he wants, but struggles to express it. He can't express what he wants, what he needs, what helps him, and that makes doing a lot of things with that little guy really tough. That being said, he does have ways to communicate, just like Renee does in the short, and I think it's only like what?
It's an 11-minute short. It's
Yeah.
not long at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like between 10 and 15 minutes long, so it's an 11-minute short. So really, if you get the opportunity, if you have Disney Plus, take a little time to watch it, you know, especially if you know somebody who is affected by autism and maybe has someone more severe. The thing that helped Renee the most was time. That was all she needed, was time, and that's sadly something people don't understand. They get very impatient when a child on the spectrum is having a meltdown. They don't understand it.
They just want the kid to be quiet sometimes.
And calm.
And calm. And
That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. Sometimes the child has to do it on their own. In the short, when Renee is having her meltdown, she throws the canoe that they've crashed now into a sandbar on top of her. And she hides underneath there. And you can see the guide frustrated, wanting to get her out and try to take her back to the dock. But she is just, she is not calm no matter what. And he basically has to sit there until she calms down on her own. And she lets him take her back, finally. We've had that experience with Joey many a times, where he's having a meltdown. We try to find what he wants, whether it's a snack, whether it's a TV show, whether it's the Beatles or Disney or whatever music he's in the mood for at the moment. We're trying to give him what he wants, but at this point he has gone so far that he can't communicate. He won't use his iPad anymore.
He's too overwhelmed to communicate it.
He's too overwhelmed, and he's throwing himself on the floor, sometimes into the window. It's very, very difficult to deal with, and a lot of times we have to just let it happen. There were times recently during his meltdowns where if we entered the room, he got more upset. He just wanted to be in a room crying until he calmed down.
Yeah, he just needed to practice self-soothing, and sometimes, just like anybody else in the world, we all have moments where we just want to be left alone to feel our feelings, and that's okay. Well, people on the spectrum need that too, and their feelings come on sometimes a little more abrupt than ours, and they have a harder time. Or I know, in Joey's case, he has a harder time expressing those feelings than like my older son, myself, or my husband does. And that's a really good comparison.
Loop is not the only thing on Disney Plus dealing with autism. There's also a short called Float that also has some very similar dealings with autism and parents not truly understanding things when their children are different. That is another one I would recommend you check out. The father's, the kid's floating. That's why it's called Float. The kid doesn't stay on the ground. And the father just turns and screams, "Why can't you be normal?" As I've had that thought, as sad as it is, with both of my kids sometimes. And even though, we don't even know what normal is in that sense.
In our house, yeah. Normal doesn't exist.
It's a thing where, you see other families and other things that they're able to do with their kids. And we can't do that, certain things. And it does get frustrating, but I think, especially if you have a child with autism, or if you know a family with an autistic child, watching these two shorts, Loop and Float, will go a long way to helping you understand some of their struggles, some of what they go through. You'll never truly understand. And if you are, if you're a parent of a child on the spectrum, no one else will truly understand. But you also know that there are plenty of people who want to understand, and these are ways to get it across to help you. It's not perfect, but it's great to see representation. It is great to see understanding. It is just, the Spark shorts are a way to bring us closer together and to understand more about each other. And as a parent with two kids on the spectrum, at vastly different ends of the spectrum, I cannot say enough good things about these two individual shorts.
I definitely agree with that. I like them both. And the line in Float, the line, why can't you just be normal? Like Jeremy said, we've said that or thought that both about our kids. There's times I've just been like, what the hell? Like, what is going on here? Like, why can't we just be like a normal family and go to a restaurant without throwing mac and cheese everywhere or chicken fingers everywhere and having both kids screaming? And I know other families I know families of typical children go through that too. It's like, even when I take Joey places or when we do things with him, I can't tell you how often people they see Joey, he will have a behavior that will automatically signal to other families that something is wrong with that kid. And I will get looks. I can't tell you how many times we've been out in public where I think someone's looked at us or a kid like, what is wrong with these people? We usually have, if we're somewhere where we're walking around with Joey, we usually have like a wrist leash or a backpack leash on him because he will take off. He's a flight risk, and he's, 50 pounds now?
Not quite 50, but getting close to it.
Yeah, he's getting really heavy to carry, and he's too big for a stroller. He's 5. That's the only way we can eat out as a family is with the booster seat. Otherwise, he will get up and run around the restaurant. Like, he needs that strap in to understand he needs to sit. Now, these are things we are working on at home. He is comfortable in the booster seat. If he doesn't want to be in there, he will sign all done. He will let us know. We take him down. We have all kinds of ways and things that work for us to keep him happy. And our expectations are always to not have expectations. I think we've gotten to that point. What do you think?
Yeah.
Just like Marcus and Renee and Luke. Marcus was expecting Renee to like the sound in the tunnel, and she hated it. And that's exactly what it's like with Joey. We expect him to like something, and he won't. Or, we expect my older son to like something, or it's too much stimulation for him, and he'll be like, Mom, I can't do that. Or just the opposite. There are times we've taken Joey places we thought he was going to hate it, and it wasn't going to go well. And everything went fine.
Don't expect anything, because, you'll be disappointed no matter what. Or, and you'll end up being thrilled if you don't expect anything.
Exactly. And, don't forget that Joey is a kid. He's just a kid. He's 5. He knows what he wants. He's strong, and he is smart. He can figure things out probably faster than you or I can. Faster than I can figure out how to baby-proof something, he can un-baby-proof it. So
if he can reach it, he can un-baby-proof it now.
Yeah, pretty much anything and everything we've baby-proofed, he's gotten through. And even, my friends have tried to, put up barriers and things like that in their house for him to keep him safe so he can't get to litter boxes or whatever. And he, in a matter of seconds, he gets through it. So it's kind of like, and that's a reason too, we don't visit a lot of our friends anymore or a lot of family. I'm always stressed anytime we go anywhere because I know that Joey might have a meltdown. Joey might leave cookies all over somebody's living room. Joey could get into a litter box or whatever. My parents have had to make some changes in baby-proofing their home for Joey. So it's frustrating, but it is what it is. The thing is, I guess the biggest 2 takeaways that you can get from these shorts are time, patience, and to not have high expectations, don't plan on anything being one way or the other with families, with kids, with special needs, because you never know what the day is going to bring. And if you are a family with a special needs child, you know exactly what I mean. If you're a friend of a family with a special needs child and they tell you they're going to try to go to your birthday party or your son's birthday party and they can't make it that day, it's probably nothing personal. It's really just their kid is having a bad day and they can't get there. Joey loves birthday parties, but then he has meltdowns.
He becomes overwhelmed and he can't control his emotions.
But we've taken him to some and he's done really awesome too.
Yes,
the Bounce You ones, he did really good. He loved those. A few friends and family members have had birthday parties at like bounce house places, and he loved it. He did great. We took him, was it like 2 years ago, to Urban Air, an adventure park, an indoor adventure park. It's like a trampoline park, and they have all kinds of other things. We weren't sure how he would do. At first he did okay, then he got a little cranky. We went and got some pizza, then we went back. He liked it. He liked jumping, but I think he liked the foam balls or the foam blocks more.
Oh, yeah.
And he kind of just got to a point where he was just sitting on the side of the, what was it, a jousting thing or something?
A jousting beam.
Yeah, that had foam blocks that you fell into, and he was just kind of like sitting on the side of that playing with the foam blocks, and you know, the people controlling it were like, whatever, as long as he's happy. You know, always expect the unexpected. Let your kid be themselves. It's okay. They don't have to be like every other kid there. They don't have to like what every other kid likes. It's fine. And when people give you that dirty look, just slap them. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Just...
Not until we get laws changed to where that's justified.
Know that they probably have no idea what your life is like. They've probably never had any kind of experience close to what you're experiencing. They've probably never been around autism. And again, their only depiction of autism is like the Rain Man. And so when they see, hopefully they learn and maybe not give you those looks in public anymore. I wouldn't wish autism on anybody or anybody's family. I think that it's changed me as a person, being an autism parent, like significantly. It was heartbreaking to get Joey's diagnosis and to have him not hit milestones like he should. And you know, sometimes every therapy we put him in, it's a step forward and 2 steps back.
It's one of the worst feelings in the world. You know, we obviously, with autism being a spectrum, there are vastly different things. With Remy, we've experienced he's probably going to live what most people would consider a normal life, but Joey's probably not. And you know, that's why we don't wish autism on anybody. If you have a child who ends up being diagnosed on the spectrum, you might end up with someone close to Remy, who is just naturally gifted at a lot of academics, doesn't quite get sarcasm.
But has a lot of challenges in himself, too.
Yeah, he has a lot of challenges, but he has ways where you can tell he will be able to overcome the majority of those challenges.
And we do have him in counseling to work on those. And again, the Cub Scouts, we keep bringing up our Cub Scout friends because they have helped Remy a lot, and they've been very kind and understanding, even with Joey and his special needs. We can't thank them enough.
They have been wonderful for Remy, for helping him just grow and, you know, grow as a child, grow, you know, learn and move forward. And they've been very accepting of Joey when one of us has been at work, so the other one's had to take Joey to meetings. They have been very helpful. And understanding
that we can't chase Joey around and keep Joey out of things and help Remy, and, you know, so again, that they've, and again, I know every chapter is different. Ours is the best. They've been very, and that's when you have a Joey, I'm going to say a Joey because I know every family's experience is different. So when you have a Joey in your life, that's what you need, is acceptance and kindness, because it's hard. But we are actually super proud of him. He made a sound today that sounded like candy. And he made another sound today that was like a give it when my husband took his pacifier away from him.
We'll try and get some please in there, but we're just happy to get sounds back. It's been a roller coaster on him with sounds and words, and
as far
having
as
some and then losing
a
some.
word out, I don't care what word it is, as long as it's a word and it's used in an appropriate context, I'll take it. So if he were to drop a bowl of, soup all over the floor and go, shit, I would be like, okay, fine, Joey.
May have to actually make this one explicit. But her point being that no matter how good or bad the word right now, we'll take it.
It's a win. It's a word.
Win.
It's a win. But he's making some progress with school. I really wish we could get the in-home ABA, and we don't have him in therapy right now because when we're recording this is still after my COVID diagnosis. I'm doing better. I'm back to work, but I'm not, not everything in our family is running back to 100% yet, but we do have another update on that we'll talk about.
We do have him back in school, but trying to put him back in school and then immediately go into therapy,
too much.
Going to be too much. So
one transition at a time.
Yeah, one transition, but we're going to get him. He returns to speech therapy on Monday, and he will return to physical therapy on Thursday. So he will be starting therapies up again. We're very proud of both of our boys and what they're able to do. We're very happy with a lot of what's going on, and Loop and Float will help people somewhat understand. Another thing I can recommend is if you find the Sesame Street episode where they introduce the character Julia. That was the first time we watched that when we suspected Joey was on the spectrum,
yes.
But we didn't have a diagnosis yet. We watched it, and we're trying to show the boys, but Joey wasn't having it. He wasn't even 2 yet, so his attention span wasn't there. But we watched it, and I remember Remy turning and saying, "That girl acts just like Joey."
Yeah, I believe they introduced the rest of Julia's family on Sesame Street recently too, or they're going to. Don't quote me on that. Honestly, Sesame Street isn't a big thing in our house. Joey's not really into it. And
he will watch it for small spurts, but it's not one of the shows that he requests all the time.
Exactly. And while I love what they do on Sesame Street, I've pretty much got the letters and numbers down. So I'm not gonna sit and watch it. I'm cool. I love what they do. If Joey wanted to watch it, I'll gladly sit and have it on with him. But he doesn't request it, so we don't really watch it in our house. But I do get articles on that, and it's just nice to see more representation. It's especially with autism being such a big spectrum. It's you don't always see everything, and it's just the more representation there is in media and in society, the more understanding there will be. And that's exactly, I think, why we're doing this, is to represent and to raise awareness and to let people know that this is some people's lives. This is what goes on. And when you see a kid flipping out in the store, instead of thinking, hey, those parents suck or that kid's a brat, think maybe that mom is exhausted and maybe that kid is overwhelmed. Sometimes that's all it is.
It's amazing how differently you see things when you've lived it.
Yeah, it's hard to cast judgment on other parents when, you're just living your life so different. But I am super proud of the progress both of my kids have made. Also, I want to say I'm super proud of my husband because his articles, he hasn't just reviewed Loop. Like, that was the best review he's done.
That's the most personal review I've done, absolutely. I
don't know, your Hocus Pocus was pretty intense.
I do love the movie Hocus Pocus. That's what she's referencing there. But as I'm constantly writing, my writing has improved, but I can just say that the passion that I put into that particular article, because of how close it is, speaks to me specifically. I hope it speaks to everyone who reads it. Another one you may want to check out just on that is I just today wrote a review on the movie Mr. Holland's Opus. It's about a teacher, a music teacher who wanted to write his own music and become famous, and it didn't work out. And in one segment of it, you learn, he and his wife, they have a son who is born 90% deaf. And there was a moment in that movie that I had to turn it off for a little bit, is when they're arguing about what to do for their son, and Mr. Holland's wife literally screaming, when I look around at other parents, I can't talk to my son, I want to talk to my son.
The feelings I have, and some of them are like, there's a really good chance that I might not ever see Joey get married. There's a really good chance that Joey might not be able to live as an independent adult. And I believe I've mentioned that before. And that feeling I have that I have to live with, I would never wish that on anybody. So when you hear me say something like I wouldn't wish autism on anybody, it's not because I don't like people with the condition. It's that those feelings that I have with my child hurt me badly, and I don't want anybody else to feel that kind of pain.
That hit me very hard. I had to shut off the movie for about an hour. It's an excellent movie, by the way, but that one thing just hit very close to home because Joey can't talk to us with words yet, and maybe not ever. But, he has a way to communicate, and their way, they ended up learning more about American Sign Language, and when it came through, through the movie, Mr. Holland, Mrs. Holland, their son, all learn sign language, and they are able to communicate. It's a small subplot in a bigger movie, but it's the subplot that tugged the most at my heartstrings. But I love representation of the spectrum. I love that they have the people on the spectrum.
Anybody with disability.
Anybody with disability, yes.
Or different ability.
Yeah, but I love what they've managed to do. I love what The Good Doctor does and teaches that autism can't hold you back. Autism doesn't necessarily have to hold you back from being a doctor. But at the same time, not everybody on the spectrum is going to do that, and we need something to represent the other end of the spectrum and everyone in between. And Loop, Float, and so many other...
Temple Grandin.
Yes.
The movie Temple Grandin is another one. I'm sorry. That's another one that if you want to learn about autism or understand autism, watch Temple Grandin, the movie, or read her book, or research her, because she's incredible. I think she's one of my favorite people in the world. We actually had the opportunity to watch her speak in person at the Pomfret School, and that was really good for us. I think we came home as parents with an idea of how my mind might work different than hers, but also gave me a little bit of respect for myself, because I do have ADHD, and I know that my mind works very different than my children's and my husband. So we live in a home where everybody's brain is different, and it was really cool to have her explain things and talk about introducing your child to as many things as you possibly can, and take them places, and be specific with your instruction with them, because that's what we have to do with Joey. We can't just tell Joey, don't do that. We have to say, Joey, do this instead. Which is a little bit hard, because it's easier to say no than it is to say, do this instead. But we're working on that as parents. I think that we're getting better with that in time. And same thing with Remy. If you give him an answer to me, that would be a clear yes or no. To him, the answer isn't clear unless it's a yes or no. And just the way our minds all work different, and respecting that can be really hard in our own family, so never mind outside with the whole world. You wonder why miscommunications happen, there's your reason. But yeah, as far as depiction in media goes, I think that that's probably the biggest thing that with me about Loop, is that I love that. And Float, it really gives you the feeling of what it must be like to be a parent of somebody who's different. But again, I want to say that I'm very, very proud of my husband for specifically the Loop review, but all of his reviews for What's on Disney Plus. For him to make time to do that, in addition to this, in addition to his full-time job and helping me with the boys, he's an incredible guy. And I'm just super proud of him. Great job, Jeremy. Yay!
And a quick thank you to Roger Palmer, who runs the What's on Disney Plus website, for putting out there, asking for help, and then seeing my application and taking me in, letting me do a writing test, and having me write reviews. It's been a load off of my mind mentally to just, I'm able to write about something happy most of the time. And so... And
again, that kind of is the long way of how we got to where we are now, where we're sitting in our car recording this podcast. It's funny how things come the way that they do. But this has been I don't know, it's come full circle as we've both kind of found our creative outlets. We both kind of found a way to get our stories, our word, and our voices heard as, the people we are and our situation. And it's just been great things for us. So we want to hear from you. Have you watched Loop? Have you watched Float? Do you know who Temple Grandin is? Are there other characters with autism that you see that maybe aren't necessarily depicted as savants, or, just anything like that? Let me know. We want to hear your feedback. We want to share your story. We are excited that we have international listeners. All three of them.
Yes. If you saw on our social medias, we now have listeners in Australia, Canada, and Ireland. So thank you for listening, on different continents.
Which are 3 countries I love, by the way.
But anyway, so thank you for listening to this episode of our podcast. I was happy to take more of a lead on this one, mostly because I did write the review on Loop, and my creative outlet that helped launch this creative outlet for us. And be sure to check us out on many podcasting platforms, through Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Pocket Cast, Owlcast, Breaker, RSS, so many of them that I can't even name them anymore. Check us out.
I think we're on 8 or 9 different podcasting platforms right now.
Yep. Check us out on Facebook at Caregiver Chronicles. We are on Instagram at Caregiver Chronicles 2, Twitter at Caregiver Chron 1, and we are on Anchor at Caregiver Chronicles as well. And we will have a new episode for you next week. Bye.
See you next week.